thank you so much for having me today. I took a couple art classes at Webster, but gosh, it's been, let's just say, over a decade ago that I've been on this campus. Actually, I've come to the theater for a couple shows, and so I love being on campus. Thanks for the map, so I knew exactly how to get here, though. About as close as I get to campus anymore is going to Dewey's Pizza with my kids usually screaming in the backseat of the car, so this is a much better journey today on my way over. So as Mariko mentioned, I am Cheree Berry. Just before we begin, I should clarify that I should not be confused by Cheree Berry, Cheree Berry, the self-serve yogurt company, or Sherry's Berries, the chocolate-covered strawberry company. When you're born with a name like mine, over time you end up just taking ownership of that name. The Cheree Berry muffin doll that came out when I was in 3rd grade. My mom is actually here, so you guys can ask her any questions after this about the naming process of a child. So I think I just decided to take my very special name and make it my business name, Cheree Berry Paper. So I actually started my college career at University of Missouri Columbia as an art and journalist major. It was there that I realized I was starting to enjoy my art classes even more than Tri Delta. So I decided that maybe I wanted to switch schools and go to a program that was much more art focused. University of Missouri has definitely come a long way since I have been there, but I ended up transferring to WashU when I was a sophomore. And I was really interested in WashU's platform where visual concepts are explored and this relationship between word and image is developed. And I was immediately happy with my decision to transfer. I love the faculty, the assignments, the studio environment, and it was really my body of work at WashU that helped me set forth on a career track, namely my thesis project, Hurrah for the Bra, a pop-up book on the history of the brassiere. I knew going into the thesis semester that I wanted to design and write a book, but I knew the content part of it was going to be challenging for me. What could I possibly be interested in researching and designing for an entire semester? So I thought about what interested me, and I thought back to our foreign exchange student that my family hosted when I was in 8th grade, O'Reilly. She had packed more bras in her suitcase than she did underwear and socks combined. We were all just, my sisters and I, like, look at these bras. They're like made of these most amazing like patterns and materials. So the French knew what they were doing in terms of in the lingerie department. So I was fascinated by that, and her collection had stayed on my mind over the years. And I also had a pretty intricate collection of pop-up books as a child. I was fascinated how this scenario, this scene, this narrative could explode from a book and then tuck so quietly and neatly back into the spread. So I decided, as I started researching the bra, that it was a very fascinating yet told story about the evolution of the bra. And ironically enough, I thought it was very appropriate that bras and pop-ups strive to do the same thing, pop up and out. So the concept was very straightforward. It was a very, very simple, iconic pop that represented the bra from each era. And so the brassiere's development over the decades has definitely been a symbol of womanhood and how far we've come since the days of the corset. And the book came complete with a pink satin spine and a bra clasp closure. So during my thesis presentation, I was encouraged to try and publish the book, but I had no idea how to go about doing that. So unsure and very unemployed, I decided to moved to New York and pound the pavement to look for a job. I moved in August after graduation, and I began a stint there, which I refer to my years of professional shaping. I sent out several dozen resumes. I secured as many informational interviews as I could. I remember being at a design firm and showing all of my work, and then I'd always bring up the rear with my thesis book, and it was a gentleman who interviewed me, and I had researched this company for a while and was a big fan. And he couldn't get the bra clasp closure open on my book. And I was just panicking, and he kept trying and trying, and I was turning all these shades of red, and he finally just pushed the book back and said, "Thank you, we'll be in touch." And I was like, oh, next time I should have it open and ready for it to go. So that was my first snafu on sort of the interviewing process, which was great to get as many informational interviews because I feel like, you need some of those just for a little bit of practice. So needless to say, I kept looking. And it was Deanna Coleman-Levitt, who I think actually spoke here last year, who is such a design hero of mine and a local design grade, who was at my thesis presentation when I presented my book when I was a student, and she gave me the name of a partner at Pentagram, Michael Gerke. And so, as luck would have it, they happened to be looking for a junior designer when I had moved to New York. So, of course, this was just really a solid gold ticket, getting an interview there. And then, so 3 interviews later, I actually ended up getting the job there. I actually remember exactly where I was when I got the phone call. It was a Friday night, and I was watching Goonies at my apartment with my roommate, because, what else would you be doing on a Friday night in New York City but watching Goonies at home as a roommate? So that just goes to show a snapshot of my boring life the first couple of years I was there. My desk at Pentagram was on the overhanging balcony. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to do a tour there. It's an amazing space in Madison Square Park area, right by the Flatiron Building. And I actually sat right above Michael Beirut's desk. I was not under him, but he sat right below me. I could actually read like up to 42-point type on his screen from my desk, which is probably really dangerous. I was like stalking him a little bit. But it was such a fascinating and surreal experience being there. And still to this day, it kind of feels like a bit of an out-of-body experience. In terms of my projects there, I got really good at setting style sheets in Quark as I typeset the 40-something page financials in the back of the Liz Claiborne annual report. So that was really good practice. I assisted with some of the AIA work, and another big account of ours was UPS, so I did a lot of environmental signage for UPS. I also spent a lot of my time mocking up books in the comp room over and over and over, so I got really good at my hand skills. My favorite project there was working on a business card for Zurich Capital Markets, an asset management firm that places customized solutions for their clients. So therefore, because of the nature of the company, we felt that we wanted their printed collateral to mimic their mission. So we came up with this very personalized business card where the backside had these pictorial graphics, these infographics, and each employee had to fill out a form. Are they left-handed, right-handed? What month were they born? Were they a day person, a night person? And then we created this little ticking matrix at the bottom of the front of the car on the red side. You could go up to the different employees and kind of see if you were a match. So that was really fun, and I love the personal side of that. It really got me thinking about how can one person in a company feel very individualized, and I thought that was really cool. My time at Pentagram was too short, though. I decided to leave after having only been there a year. My direct boss, I felt at the time, was pretty tough, and I didn't think I was getting enough responsibility, so I call that my post-graduation entitlement syndrome that I had, that I felt like I should have been doing a little bit more. And I think that I hear from a lot of professionals that have been out in the industry for a while, that the first job or two is you're figuring out what you want to do and who you are, and I think that that can happen a lot. But if I could do that all over again, I'd probably stay a little bit longer. But I was interested in branching out to a new industry. I was interested in the world of advertising. I went to work for a former adjunct professor at WashU who I had stayed in touch with, and he told me about, he was actually the creative director at a advertising firm, Toth Brand Imaging. This was an advertising firm whose sole client was the fashion brand Nautica. It was at Toth that I really paid a great attention to detail. The process would typically start with us coming up together with some conceptual mood boards that we could present to the client, and they would pick a direction. Because a lot of these fashion companies, it's just as much the lifestyle. You're wanting people to sign up for this lifestyle just as much as it is the product. That's really how it sells. If you see a model wearing something that looks great on her and she's in a great environment and there's an overarching concept, it just entices people to want to purchase. And then once they picked a concept, then we would secure finding the models and the photographers. We'd call in dozens of model books and photographers books, and we would present that to the client. And then once these big details were in place, it was really all about a great shot. And then when the shoot was over, it was about the perfect composition. That I've never thought, worked so hard on cropping an image as much as I have at Toth. It was really has been great practice just on the, how cropping an image is really a talent and takes a lot of detail. I led 2 accounts while I was there, the kids campaign and the men's underwear campaign. I found with this one that live props, while they can be very challenging, they can have really good results. So the little frog was really good. I think the photographers had really good timing on that one. So there was no Photoshop other than like correcting of the clothing that was involved in this, which is really pretty cool. And then we take a drastic turn to men's underwear. You may not recognize these abs, but they actually belong to Brent, the guy from Zoolander who blows himself up in the cigarette shot. So you wouldn't know that by the packaging because we only show the torso. But I always love that I know that detail. But back to this slide, these shots for the men's underwear packaging had to be really strategic because we had to be able to identify the consumer the difference between like a fly boxer brief and a one button boxer brief. So the positions, basically this model would do these free-forming positions, and then we would want to make sure that we could see them in a series. So they all felt very individualized to each other. As you can imagine, I did enjoy my experience on this campaign, but I decided that my time at Toth had run its course. I'd been there almost 2 years and had really great experience, but I was ready to get back into design. I wasn't wanting to pursue a career in advertising. So my friend and boss, Don, who was my boss at Toth, and had been such a mentor of mine over the years, told me about an opening for a graphic designer at Kate Spade. Of course, I knew Kate Spade. I coveted the one and only Kate Spade bag that I think my mom purchased for me at Christmas. Wherever I went, I always made sure that little label was facing out so people could see this bag of mine. But it's interesting because I think a lot of times, looking back, I had no idea that there was even a graphic design department at a fashion accessories company. And I think that there are a lot more in-house graphic design departments in some companies, and probably more than you think. So it wasn't even a place that I even thought to reach out to for a position. So of course I submitted my resume without delay, and when I first interviewed at the Kate Spade showroom, it was just like this Willy Wonka factory full of these amazing, colorful accessories of all different shapes and sizes, and I was just smitten from the minute I walked in the door. And this really, I ended up getting the job, and this really was a dream come true. It was a dream job, and I worked on so many amazing projects. To take you through a few of those projects, this was the Kate Spade lookbook. We designed a lookbook every season that was sent out to press and editors to get them excited about the upcoming season's line. So my experience at Toth with the photography and cropping of imagery, and then my own thesis was a really good practice for me with this. And my idea on this was that you could still see the product, but the end result would be a little bit more fine art than commercial. Since this wasn't going to the consumer, it was going to press and editors, we could get away with being a little bit more abstract with the imagery. This is a couple other spreads. This is the Kate Spade calendar. Now I know calendars are going very digital, but there is still a very big market for paper calendars, actually in the college market and in high schools as well. And so, but when I worked on this, probably 12 years ago, 10 years ago, paper calendars were just a must-have. So this was one of the concepts that I came up with called Time is Luxury, and this is the cover of the calendar. And we really took our concepts for our annual calendars very seriously. A lot of time went into this calendar program. This particular calendar was shot at Kate and Andy Spade's home in the Hamptons, and so we got to take advantage of their really amazing interiors, wallpaper, all their props. And then I did all the extra prop shopping and photo styling. And a couple of my favorites, this was actually my grandparents' cuckoo clock that I brought back from one of my trips home and had the model holding that in front of her face. A couple others were start a book collection, so a grid of vintage Penguin books, and Pick Peonies Daily, where we covered the model in peonies in front of this peony wallpaper, and then paint a mural. And it was all about details, and so we took this little dog figurine that Kate had in her home and put it above the paint can, the yellow paint can, for just a touch of that humor and that made you look moment, which I love doing in Kate Spade. Kate Spade music. Kate Spade, again, was much as a lifestyle as it was an accessories fashion company. The music was very much considered. I mean, from the brand videos to the showrooms to the stores. So we partnered with the British pop band Beaumont, and they made an album exclusively for Kate Spade. So this was the interior booklet for the CD case that I designed that had some of the lyrics and just more of a fun little promotional piece. And then we actually had a tour where we went to all these cities: Vegas, Dallas, Houston, Boca Raton, Charlotte, Atlanta, and with this band, and we performed at the stores. And so this was the invitation for that. And then we also had t-shirts and like these VIP lanyards, which were really fun. And then the signature wallpaper, the wallpaper that's seen there was in our showroom, and that became the signature visual for the Kate Spade music campaign. And I had the flowers actually printed on the inside of the t-shirt, so that it just had this ghosted mark through the back, and then just the one on the outside. I also had the opportunity to work on a lot of Jack Spade projects. Jack Spade was created by Kate Spade's husband, Andy. It was started as a way to make bags for men, utilitarian but very stylish at the same time. Jack Spade is a fictitious name, and it was mostly inspired by the novelist Jack Kerouac. So Jack, the hipster at heart, with a bad boy style, always called for really fun projects. This was the company's 2006 holiday card. The nose hold was made by a cigarette burn. So one afternoon I called for a holiday card party at Andy's office, and I invited all the smokers in. I can assure you, Mom, I was not part of that party. I just initiated it. And then we just burned all the noses in the reindeer and in the stag, and then the signature Jack Spade orange came through the whole. Another one of my favorite projects was an invite to a Jack Spade ping pong party. The Jack Spade boys were always finding an excuse to throw parties, so I created a set of these 8 charades that had illustrated little illustrations that all rhymed with ping pong, like ding dong and Cheech and Chong and Hong Kong, and even the thong song, similar to the thong song, which was a lot of fun. And they were all put in this little Ziploc baggie as a presentation. It was mailed out very mini. I love little mini sizes. And then the Kate Spade sample sale was another fun project. Women, I don't know if any of you have heard about the infamous Kate Spade sample sale, but women would, I think they've calmed down a little bit over the years, but women would line up hours before the sale and it would wrap around 2 city blocks, and there have actually been known cat fights that would happen in these sample sales. So I thought this image was very appropriate to announce the sale taking place. So after having been at Kate Spade about 3 years, I had the opportunity to lead an in-house stationery project. Kate Spade herself had always been a big lover of snail mail and loved writing notes, and we had a very small line in-house that we had produced overseas, and it was probably like we had like pencils, a notepad, and a couple note cards. So we had a chance to partner with Crane & Co. So Crane, who actually produces our money, our currency, and one of the largest stationers, probably the biggest one that still exists today, to partner with them to develop our own in-house line, to really blow out the line, to make it much bigger. So it was working on this project that with Crane & Co. that was educated on the etiquette and of wedding stationery. This is actually one of my favorite monograms, the zebra monogram that was in the personalized stationery line. The Kate Spade album consisted of 15 different designs, each appealing to different brides. The whimsical bride, the romantic, the modern, the classical. And it was really fun being able to have a different voice for each different suite, to really think about all these different brides and their individual style. This was the traditional invitation. This is the traditional bride through the Kate Spade lens. The challenging part of designing this album was that the designs are very hardwired, so you didn't have the luxury of going in and finessing the kerning and the leading and all that on the projects. We of course could make our sample, the one in the album, look as we could control how long we wanted her middle name and the date and all that. But the final results that other people picked, you weren't really able to hold her hand as much. So while I was working on this program, I started working on invitations for friends outside of the office. And I just loved working on it. I would find myself being okay staying in on a weekend just to work on someone's wedding invitation, which I was basically doing at no cost, but it was so fun, and it was a way for me to, tell someone else's story via paper. So that was really amazing. So in a blink of an eye, I had been at Kate Spade 4 years, and in that time I had met someone back home. So I decided to move back to St. Louis. So after, Kate Spade had been very good to me, but I missed home, I missed, public restrooms, I missed Steak and Shake, I missed all those things. And I felt like in Manhattan, it's such a crazy city. I mean, I felt a little bit of my life there was like looking at life on a passing train. I didn't feel fully integrated in the city, and so I felt that it was best for me to come back here and start something here with my family to support me. And the best parting gift of all, though, before I left, is that I got a book deal. So I found a book agent a couple years prior, and he shopped my book around to different publishers. And I finally landed a deal with Stewart Taborian Chang, which is a division of Harry Abrams. And so I moved back to St. Louis, where it all first started, and I got it retail ready. About 2/3 of the book had to be cut because pop-up books are just so expensive to make. There's so much paper, so much printing, so much hand work involved. But I can assure you that the broad class closure stayed, and the pink satin spine was something that I was not going to budge on. So the book was released after about a year, when I moved back after about a year later, and it was a great way to get me acclimated back into St. Louis, no longer as a student, but more in the working world. And thanks to the internet and the booming wedding industry, work was coming in from all over the place. So I set up shop in my apartment in the Central West End. That's me in my spare bedroom. Frida was there to keep me company during the day. And this is a picture of my first stationery chest. The early days in retrospect were really great. I only had my own inbox to manage, and it felt now, at the time it didn't feel quiet, but looking back it really was a great time. But as business, started, growing, I had to expand. But the great thing about the little risk with my job is so much of what I do is custom, so I didn't have to sit on inventory. I had very little overhead, so there was little risk involved, which was really nice, as opposed to going into more of a retail stationery company where you're producing, off-the-shelf greeting cards, and you have to just, do your minimums are crazy, and that you just have to, most of your day is working on getting them into multiple doors across the country. So when I started finding that I was storing my stuff in like the bathroom cabinets and the kitchen cabinets, and things were falling out all over the place, I decided that I probably needed to bring on an employee, so I hired my first employee. So then my first big groundbreaking project was I worked with, you may know that the TV segment NBC Today throws a wedding. So the Today Show hosts a wedding every, I think it might be, they haven't been doing them as much lately, but there was about a decade where they were hosting an on-air wedding, where America could vote on the couple, the wedding dress, the cake, the honeymoon, and all that. In 2005, though, Martha Stewart partnered with the Today Show to do Today Throws a Martha Stewart wedding. And so I got a call from the editor-in-chief there, Darcy Miller, and asked if I wanted to design the stationery for this on-air wedding, because that was one element that the masses, America was not going to vote on, was the stationery. There were some categories that Martha could control on her own. So this was just a great, amazing opportunity for me. The wedding, they got married at the Plaza on the Today Show, and then the reception was at Tiffany's. So this was the final design that was in the magazine, and some key elements: the 3-layer invite with the Tiffany painted edge, the shoulder of the envelope, kind of like an inscription in a ring, said "a most wonderful occasion," and for a fun surprise element, a little teeny tiny blue reception card that was enclosed in a teeny tiny little envelope. So this was really a huge gift for me, and the one problem was when the phone started ringing off the hook and everyone wanted to buy this, there was sticker shock. I mean, this thing was not cheap to produce. But you know, you can't do a cheap invitation for a wedding taking place at Tiffany's. So I realized that was just, you know, part of it, that this was more of a way to get my name out there and less of a way to generate sales. So on top of being busy, I got a call from a licensing company, Lifeguard Press, who is based out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and they produce and manufacture all the stationery and gifts for Lily Pulitzer, Jonathan Adler, Kate Spade, Dylan's Candy Bar. When Todd, the owner, had called and asked if I'd be interested in designing this product as a ghost designer, so my name was not attached to it, I was just too overwhelmed to think about business. So I said no, but thank you, and hung up the phone. I think he must have found that my rejection appealing, because he called me back about a week later and asked again, and I decided I couldn't pass up this opportunity. This was too good to miss. I think that's been the hardest thing in this industry is being able to you know, say yes to future commitments, ongoing business, while juggling the workload that you currently have. So that is something I still struggle with to this day. But here's a little sneak peek at some of the things we work on when we do the market bags for Lily Pulitzer. So they give us their library of imagery, and then we're working on, like, we came up with the Orange You Glad You're Green, we worked the typeface in there, the gusset has another coordinating pattern. So a box of note cards, we think about what the cards look like in the packaging, and then Dylan's Candy Bar was a lot of fun. Some other favorite projects, we did the visual identity logo design for Winslow's Home, which is a general store / restaurant in U City. This was such a great project for me. It really opened our doors to thinking less about a stationery company, but more just a design firm, more of a graphic design company. And we're getting more and more visual identity projects, which is great. It just adds more variety, and again, it's another way to come up with a solution for a personalized solution for our clients. And this is some of the collateral that was designed. And I did get paid for this, but I would have been happy to get paid in Popeyes in exchange, because I have a best chicken Popeyes if you're ever looking for one. It was just really great being a part of a company that I admire and I go to, daily for my coffees. So after 2 years of having my own business, I got engaged. So I had this was probably my biggest project of my career, planning my own wedding. So I not only crafted the paper and the stationery, but I really enjoyed working on the environmental graphics of an event design. Designing my own wedding has been a huge exercise as a business owner, just really being able to experience what my clients experience when they're planning a wedding. They're spending a lot of money, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, the in-laws want to chime in. It was really good to experience that and really just see the other hand. And then I would say that it did give me a little bit more empathy for some of my clients, although the operative word there being some of my clients, not all. It was really a challenge juggling my own planning my wedding with my client workload, but really the hardest part was coming up with a visual solution for yourself. We actually get designers sometimes who want us to design something for them. I'm like, why would you do that? You just design your own thing. But it's nice to have this perspective. I could see how that happens, because it's just hard to narrow your focus when there are so many things along the way that you could see for yourself. But Martha Stewart came in and shot the wedding, so they gave me a 5-spread feature. So this was in the 2009 9 issue of the Martha Stewart weddings. It shows the stationery suite and the table design, and the escort cardboard was based on, very nostalgic about, a lot of my inspiration was based on the Plinko board on Price is Right. And so you would pull off your little triangle with your name on it. This like little origami opened up and told you your table assignment. I had a little paper origami on the cake, and the backdrops made grab bags for getting nostalgic. Everyone had a grab bag. They didn't know the contents. They picked it, and everything was different in all the bags. So that's that. So it was during my own wedding that I was working on with a client, Kristen Armstrong, who I was working on her wedding stationery, and she was at the same time getting her MBA at Harvard, and she asked if she could do a case study on my business. And what I later gathered was, after she did this case study, is that she really reveled in the creative exploration with me and loved the creative aspect, but there were definitely many things on the business side that I was lacking. Sending out timelines, invoicing people. They would get, their invoice sometime on their first year wedding anniversary because I was so late at invoicing. I just hated numbers, and just a lack of organization, overall. And so I decided that I should not try and focus on everything because I just wasn't good at all of it. So a business partner was born, and sales have really increased drastically. We've been able to grow the company since she has been on board. And brides are needy. They need a lot of hand holding, and we really need to have an individual assigned to every project other than just a designer. So having come off the experience of design for my own wedding, I did an exciting collaboration with my alma mater, Kate Spade, in 2010. Hopefully you've all been to the store at Plaza Frontenac, and if you haven't, you should all go. It's just amazing eye candy, and it's, especially now with the holiday season, they've got amazing fun knickknacks out. The creative director at Kate Spade called and asked if I wanted to do a local collaboration with the Kate Spade store. And of course, I jumped at the chance to be able to partner with them and do something within the community. So I covered the entryway with all these little mini envelopes with a colorful grid, and the piece was titled Take a Chance, and every envelope had a little chance card, almost like a fortune. And we invited the passerby to pull out a card, and there was even some of the cards said, like, laugh out loud, eat cake for breakfast, there were probably 20 different little copy blurbs. And then for an extra risky moment, we had a little, which you don't see here, we had lacquered a step stool, hot pink, and you could climb up on the step stool, and there was one way up by the ceiling that was like extra credit that you could pull out, so I'm sure they love the liability on that in the store. So shortly after the install of the wall, I got a call from the Boston-based event company, Raffinelli Events, and they had a client who was interested in working with me on her wedding. They wouldn't disclose who this person was, but I immediately had to sign a non-disclosure. They wouldn't give me any information until I signed it. In fact, we started designing this save the date before I even knew who this client was. We were using dummy names, Heather and Matt, as placeholders. And then right before we went to print, they gave me the real copy, and we realized that Heather and Matt were actually Chelsea Clinton and Mark Mazensky. So that was such a crazy ride, just designing everything for them, from save the dates to invitations to their day of material. One of my favorite pieces was for their brunch the day after their wedding. We took the classic Greek key coffee cup that normally says, "We are happy to serve you," and I changed it to "We are happy to see you," and it was actually really appropriate because that designer had passed away earlier that year, so it was a nice homage. So that was just really fun, being part of the excitement and buzz of leading up to that wedding. It was just crazy because I didn't talk about it, and I had to be very tight-lipped. So it was kind of fun to have our own little secret going. Some other clients we've done through Raffinelli has ended up being just great for us. They were our largest revenue stream. That was such a good experience, and we were like all hands on deck. Everybody in the office was on Chelsea's job. So I think that they were impressed that this small little design firm in St. Louis could pull off such a media covered wedding and keep it really private. So they have sent us a lot of other really fun clients. Camp Harbor View, which is a not-for-profit organization in Boston that allows at-risk children to attend camp every summer and have a safe haven to go explore the outdoors in a really amazing setting. So this was the invitation to their gala that they have every year that we've been doing for the last few years, called the Beach Ball. And this little fold-out save-the-date map that talks about the activities that happen at camp. We did the invitation for the opening of the new Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. We were inspired by the wallpaper. They actually did this really cool thing where they wallpapered a lot of the galleries and juxtaposed the art on top of the wallpaper. So this is a die-cut piece that opened up, really fun piece to interact with. And then Raffinelli's own holiday card. It was the Year of the Rabbit in 2011, so inspired by the Chinese New Year's graphics for a really intricate and very colorful bright red card. So after Chelsea's wedding and all this work, we were busier than ever. So I went from working out of my apartment to then renting an office space in Central West End, a really wonderful couple who let me just rent room by room. And then I had eventually taken over the whole floor, and now we have our own custom space in Clayton. This is a peek outside my office into the other room.